What's up, YouTube? Matt Modi here with Oddsjam, and in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about Underdog Fantasy, and specifically, I'm going to teach you how you can make $10,000 using Underdog Fantasy. Now, I know that probably sounds like a number that is unattainable, but I can actually get you there. So for starters, I'm going to show you a screenshot of an Oddsjam user who has made a ton of money specifically using Underdog Fantasy. Obviously, they have a higher bankroll, but in the year 2022, profited 75K. But most importantly is this 20% ROI. That is a scalable number. So for you, I recommend doing a deep dive on what your bankroll is and how much money that you're comfortable dedicating towards Underdog Fantasy on a nightly basis. You take 20% of whatever that number is, and you can kind of back out how many days it would take you to make $10,000 on Underdog Fantasy. But it is absolutely an attainable number. Obviously, this user made significantly more than that. They also have a higher bankroll, but the number scales. The 20% roughly ROI scales. And right off the bat, you see one of their 3-leg parlays that hit. This was played on Underdog. The reason why I know it's a 3-leg parlay that is worth plus 500 odds. So the way that Underdog Fantasy, their payouts work, a 3-leg entry has plus 500 odds. And this betting app that we used that syncs directly with your Underdog accounts classifies everything as a parlay, which is why you see that here. But like I said, it is absolutely an attainable number. So I wanted to make sure that this was one of the first things that I brought up to actually show you that it's possible and we can get you to this 20% ROI. But first, I figured the most important thing would just be to detail exactly how Underdog Fantasy works. Now, I'm sure those of you watching this are familiar with how it works, but just to make sure, it's essentially, as I mentioned in the screenshot, a player prop parlay. You choose multiple different entries. In this case, we're going to take both Jokic and Jamal Murray. We're going to go higher. I'm going to risk $10 to get a payout of 30, which means in profits, I am doubling my entry. That's all it is. You're choosing player props. You're choosing an over or an under, or as they like to call it, higher or lower, and you're combining them into one single entry. Now, the way parlays work, obviously, the more plays you add, the higher the payout is. So I'm adding higher Michael Porter Jr. We see the payout goes from 30 to 60 because I added one more player. So the more players you add, the higher the payout is. Obviously, the higher the risk as well, because if one of these plays loses, then your entire entry loses. So it's a risk reward option. But because we know what the payout structure is with Underdog, we can actually back out the implied odds per number of legs of an entry and kind of back out essentially what the most profitable are in terms of value. The screenshot I showed earlier was a 3-leg entry, and sneak preview, 3 legs are the most optimal entry to make when it comes to Underdog. So the way the payouts work, every 2-pick entry, as I mentioned, doubles your money, which gives you the implied odds of plus 200. This is like actual sports betting lingo. Whenever you see plus 200 odds, you're doubling your money. For a 3-pick one, as I just showed you, $10 turned into 60 payout. So you would subtract your initial risk of $10. So basically $10 profits you $50. So plus 500. We add a 4th leg, we add higher. The payout turns into 10 into 100. So if you want to take out your initial risk of 10, the profit is $90. So plus 900. And then the 5-pick one is plus 1900 because you turn $10 into a payout of 200, subtract your initial 10, gives you $190, gives you plus 1900. So the really cool thing about these payouts is we know what the odds are, right? We know the reflected odds. So we know what the implied odds per individual leg are because of the payouts. Basically saying a 2-leg parlay at plus 200 odds has an individual leg of minus 137. Now, what I mean by that is if you go to Oddsjam, you go to calculators, you go to parlay calculator, and you type in for a 2-leg parlay, minus 137, minus 137. We see here parlay odds of roughly just below plus 200, rounding up to plus 200. So an individual leg, if I remove 3 of these and we just have a 2-leg entry, basically saying the individual leg of each of these is minus 137. For a 3-leg one, the implied odds are minus 122. So again, I can show you the math, minus 122. We do that for a 3-leg parlay, we get to plus 500. So like I add another leg, the individual odds for these plays is minus 122 each. Again, we see that right here, minus 122, payout of plus 500. For 4 picks, it's minus 128, and for 5, it's back down to minus 122. And that's how the implied odds work per individual leg. Now, right off the bat, what you can see here is that the optimal entries on Underdog are 3 and 5 legs. It really doesn't make any sense for you to play a 2 or a 4-pick entry on Underdog. The value just isn't there. So step 1 to getting to that 20% ROI on Underdog is you should only play 3 and 5 pick entries. You should never do 2 and 4 legs, and you should also never do the insurance. The insurance is actually worse in terms of expected value. Now, if you want to learn about the math that goes into the insurance options, there is a video on the Oddsjam YouTube channel about Underdog that details this. All you need to know for the purposes of this video is you shouldn't do the insurance and you should only play 3 and 5 pick options. So that's step 1. When you're thinking about how can I make 10K on Underdog? How can I get to that 20% ROI? Step 1, only play 3 and 5 pick flexes, okay? Step 1. Now, the most important part, and I know what you're gonna ask. Okay, cool, so I'm only playing 3 or 5 picks. Good to know. How do I find plays to put into these 3 and 5 pick entries? It's really easy to say the number you should play. It's really hard to tell you what plays you should put in. And that is where Oddsjam comes into play. There's a bunch of different options from using Oddsjam that can get you to the profitable plays to put. The positive EV tool is one of them. Another one is this low hold page. And then the last one is the Oddsjam Screen. Now I'm going to go through each one and teach you how to use each tool to find profitable plays to put into Underdog. But starting off, one thing to understand when it comes to Underdog Fantasy, and this is kind of the concept behind everything, all you're doing is you're looking for plays that are likely to hit, which I know sounds like a caveman approach. Oh, thanks, Matt. I'm just trying to find bets that are going to hit. I understand that, but you have to think about it. So right now we have 2 plays up here, which I know 2 is never optimal, but just for the purposes of showing you, no matter if I choose Jokic higher or lower, payout doesn't change. You know what? Let's take out Jokic. We're actually going to go and we're going to play Marcus Smart higher. Payout's the exact same. So because of that, because the payout is the exact same, you're not paying any extra juice for plays that are, quite frankly, likely to hit. So a strategy on Underdog Fantasy, the strategy on Underdog Fantasy, is you're just looking for plays that are likely to hit. And I mean, you let the sportsbooks tell you what plays that are likely to hit. So I go to oddsjam.com, tools, positive expected value. I filter specifically for an Underdog 3 or 5 pick flex. And guess what? It is giving me opportunities that are profitable entries to put into Underdog, like this Cam Reddish over 14.5 points, rebounds, assists. This is Oddsjam telling you this is a profitable entry. The reason why? Look at where the other sportsbooks price this play at. We know that we're getting the implied odds of minus 122 on both a 3 and a 5 pick entry, but Oddsjam provides betting opportunities where they calculate the perfect line to be more favorable to occur than minus 122, like this Cam Reddish one. the Oddsjam No Vig odds, which are pulled from the sharpest sportsbooks in the world, you can view this number as the true line of what a market should truly be priced at, has this just below minus 123, a profitable player prop to put into Underdog. And just look where other sportsbooks price this, notably the sharp ones. Pinnacle, generally regarded as the sharpest sportsbook in the world, pricing this at minus 147. BetOnline, another very sharp sportsbook, pricing this at minus 143. Caesars at minus 137. BetMGM at minus 120, still favoring the over. All the sportsbooks are telling you, majority, not all, majority of sportsbooks are telling you how likely it is that Cam Reddish is going to go over 14.5 points, rebounds, assists. And because we are using that on Underdog, we are not paying any extra juice at all because of how their payout structure works. So I want to go and I want to add Cam Reddish over 14.5 points, rebounds, assists. So I'm going to go ahead and search him here. I'm going to add higher. That is one profitable play. Play one of three. I found one. That is how you can use the Oddsjam positive EV page to find profitable player props. Now let's talk about the low holds page. So the way the low holds page works is you can filter specifically for Underdog Fantasy, which I have done, and it provides opportunities where the sportsbook that is best offering odds for a play is on Underdog. Now, this doesn't guarantee that every single play here is going to be something you should play on Underdog. It requires a little bit more research. Like you could blindly filter for Underdog on the positive EV page, blindly filter, and you'd be good to go. You could play every single play on here without even needing to think about it. The low holds page is not quite like that. So what you need to do is anywhere where you hover over a play and it's highlighted blue, you just click the mouse and it pulls up where every sportsbook is pricing odds for a play. Now, this is a really good one. This is a really good one. Karis LeVert under 3.5 assists. The reason why? Look at where every other sportsbook is pricing this. Look how favorable they have Karis LeVert to go under 3.5 assists. Pinnacle, minus 134. BetOnline, minus 137. DraftKings, minus 130. FanDuel, minus 152. It's just insane the value that we are getting on Karis LeVert to go under 3.5 assists. So this is another profitable play to put into Underdog. This is my second play of the day. Now I need a third one, but in, 5 minutes of explaining how to use the Oddsjam tools, I've found 2 of 3 legs to add. Now that positive EV and low holds are the first 2 tools. Now, obviously I can play more on the low holds market. Like I could play, let's look at this Erik Karlsson one. Another good one. Minus 122 implied odds on Underdog. Every single sportsbook favors it going over. Pinnacle, minus 131. BetOnline, minus 127. DraftKings, minus 150. FanDuel, minus 130. I could add this Erik Karlsson one, and we are going, again, it was over 2.5 shots on goal. So guess what? That is 3 legs. This is a profitable entry to play on Underdog, found using the Oddsjam tools. So positive EV, low holds, really, really good tools. The next way in which you can find profitable plays on Underdog is the Oddsjam Screen. So of all of the tools, this definitely requires the most work. The way it works is you pick a sport, NBA, you pick a market, player points, and it pulls up every single sportsbook and where they price a player prop to be. In this case, again, points. So what you want to do is you want to find examples where Underdog is an outlier compared to every other sportsbook. And you can actually highlight it. So you click into Underdog, you click set color, we're going to make it red. So now every single play here on Underdog is highlighted red. So we can immediately identify where Underdog might be an outlier compared to every other book. And we can find sharp plays on Underdog. And here's a perfect example. Jarrett Allen to go under 15.5 points. The reason why this one is good, number one, BetOnline has it at 15.5. Every other sportsbook that has it at 15.5 heavily favors the under. Bet365, we see minus 125 on the under, minus 128, minus 130, minus 130, minus 131, and minus 130, minus 124. Across the board, heavily favoring the under. But not only that, we also see some sportsbooks price it a point lower at 14.5. So no matter how you slice it, the entire market is telling you that Jared Allen is likely to go under 15.5 points. Even Prize Picks, the other DFS competitor of Underdog, has it lower at 14.5. PointsBet also has it at 14.5, as does Bet Rivers, and they have it close to even money at 14.5 as well. So no matter how you slice it, under 15.5 is a really good play. So we want to go to Jared Allen. We want to go to lower than 15.5 points. And guess what? We found 4. Obviously, we don't want to play 4, but we have now found plays to put in an underdog entry using the positive EV tool, the low hold tool, and the Oddsjam Screen. And that's pretty much it. So step 1, only play 3 or 5 legs. Step 2, use Oddsjam. Let Oddsjam tell you profitable plays that are likely to hit. Literally, that's as simple as that. Likely to hit, either to go higher or lower. But use the sportsbooks to tell you what sides they're favoring. Put those into an underdog entry, and you will be profitable. That is how you can get 10K on Underdog. That is how you can hit the 20% ROI on Underdog. And that's it. That's the video. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. You can hit me up on social media at my Twitter handle that has been on the screen here, Jedi Modi. And that's it. So again, I appreciate everybody watching, and have a good one.